What is going on, everybody? Alfred Ezman with World Baseball Network here, and we are joined by a very special guest. We have Steven Milam with us from the LSU Tigers, a national champion now after last season. Steven, thank you for joining us today.
Of course, thank you guys.
Let's start with that, the 2025 national championship, right? I mean, this is a huge deal. It's the eighth one in LSU's long history. What does it mean to win the national championship, and just describe the moment for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, the guys that were on that team, we've been through a lot. Tough it together was our thing, and from getting swept at Auburn to grinding it out in the back end of SEC play and making a run to losing to Little Rock also, and having to come back and win the regional and win the supers, and then to go undefeated in Omaha was awesome, and that team is special, and will be cemented in LSU's legacy forever.
Yeah, very much so, man. Let's talk about your LSU career as a whole so far. You have 2 years under your belt now at Baton Rouge, a batting average of 310, on base percentage north of 400, 19 home runs, 97 RBIs. You've become just a very good player for Jay Johnson and that team down there. Talk about things you've learned through your first 2 years and just what it's like playing for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's a dream come true for me as a kid. I've always wanted to play here and win a national championship and be, the starting shortstop. And, to accomplish everything that I've wanted to accomplish is, it speaks volume to me and my family and, what I've been able to do here. But, it's all the hard work, all the dedication that, my family's given up, and, how much time I've put into the weight room to, the mental strength side to everything. I'm not the biggest or the strongest, but I've had to, work through everything and, put in twice the work and, prove people wrong. My career is just getting started, and, I got hopefully one more year and then I'm able to, get out of here. But, we want to win another national championship and, put number nine up on that board.
Talk about that mindset real quick, because I think it's always interesting. There's, something in sports, I'm sure you've heard of it, like a Super Bowl hangover, right? Where you win a championship and then you can kind of linger off the next year. What kind of steps are you guys taking to avoid that sort of thing? I don't know if that's something that's been talked about, but if it has, what are the steps to, getting to another national championship?
Yeah, it's a different team. It's a different dynamic. You celebrate the accomplishments and the stuff we did from last year, and when it's time to move on to the next year, you got to move on and you got to be hungry, and we got to show up every day and outwork and outplay everybody, and that's kind of how the mindset of LSU and how Coach Johnson goes about his business. He demands perfection and he demands the best out of all of us. And, he's not stopping. So I don't think he's going to let us, skew off of that. But, it's like the Dodgers. We're the Dodgers of college baseball. And, they're building a dynasty over there. They've won three. And, it's kind of how do they go about their business? And, they wanted to win another one this year. And that's, how we are. We have, a great coaching staff around us, great brains around us to, lead us in the right direction. And, Coach Johnson is the best for a reason.
I love that quote, Dodgers of college baseball. Very nice. Thank you for that, Stephen. We'll be using that on social media and such. But I kind of want to talk about, you for 2026. It'll be your junior year in Baton Rouge. I feel like that's kind of a change for you, right? You're going from kind of the younger side of your college career to the older one now. And you're kind of, above all these freshmen and sophomores who are a little bit younger and maybe need some guidance and that sort of thing. What kind of help have you been giving them, if you have, and what's the advice you give to the younger, talented freshmen and sophomores on LSU with you?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, somebody else is going to have to play shortstop, and he passed the torch along to them. And I think it's going to be Ethan Claus. He's going to be, the next one up when I'm gone from here, and I want him to learn as much as he can from me. And that's kind of what Braz and Dickinson and Tommy White and Travinsky and that's what those guys taught me. So I'm kind of just giving back to them, and I think the LSU shortstops that have came out of here are crazy. You got Bregman, LeMahieu, um, Josh Smith, Kramer. You got a couple other guys too. I mean, it's crazy. So I want to pass that along, and I want LSU to keep on winning and leave an impact here, just like how everybody else has before. You got Dylan, you got Paul, you got Tommy, you got Gavin Dugas, you got all those guys that left their impact, and it's my turn now.
Very nice, man. Let's talk about, before we log off here, fall ball real quick. You guys have done a couple of exhibitions, you've been practicing and such. Talk about maybe some new faces who have been impressive on the LSU team throughout fall ball, how you have felt personally, and just other guys who have popped off throughout the course of fall practices with you guys.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have another really deep lineup, and I think our pitching staff might be just as good, maybe if not better, this year. You got Cooper Moore from Kansas. He's going to be really good. Santiago Garcia. He's my roommate. We grew up in high school together. He's going to get a lot of innings for us. Ethan Plog, another lefty. Zach York is gonna hit a lot of homers and extra base hits for us this year. Trent Caraway, Braden Simpson. Kid's been playing really good, and then Derek's been playing good. Jake Brown also in Stanfield, and a couple of the freshmen have been showing up, and I've been pretty impressed with them because I know how hard it was for me as a freshman. But I think we're gonna be really good, really deep. Got a good staff, good head around all of our shoulders. So
Very nice, man. Steven, thank you so much for joining us today. And, you just rattled off a ton of names on this lineup. We're super excited for you guys again next year. Congrats from World Baseball Network on the 2025 National Championship. And here's to a good 2026 season for you and the LSU Tigers. Thank you for joining us.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course. Well, everybody, from Alfred Ezman, you've been watching this World Baseball Network video. For more baseball news, head over to worldbaseball.com today.